This is Real Republican News, and I'm your host, Jason Mariner, here with Real Republican Representative Rick Roth, and we're here to R5. 5R, we're going to figure that one out. But we're here to talk to you today about censorship as it pertains to conservative speech here in America. Big tech is censoring us and stripping us of our First Amendment right to free speech at an absolutely unprecedented rate. And I've got to tell you, it's the most dangerous thing that this country has ever faced, in my opinion. Now, they've turned the tides. Rick was talking earlier about how, people don't trust the mainstream media because, everybody sees through the lies. People see through the lies that the newspapers are telling and that the TV is telling you. You turn on CNN and you hear a completely different narrative than the one you do on Fox News, but somewhere in the middle lies the truth. So people have turned away from that and they've segued into places like Facebook. Facebook is a prime example, run by tyrannical Mark Zuckerberg, who has way too much power and way too much money now. When our founding fathers wrote the Constitution, they did some very important things. The first thing they did was they created the First Amendment, which contains freedom of speech. They put that as our First Amendment for a reason, not because they were idiots and they said, hey, you know what, we're going to throw the amendments up in the air and whichever one hits the ground first, we'll label as first. No, they made the First Amendment and free speech number one because, number one, it's the most important part of it.
And it was free speech, freedom of religion, and freedom of assembly.
Of assembly and the press, yes, absolutely. But they've subverted that, and now they've cornered the market. And where everyone gets their information from is the screen. And that means they're getting it from Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all the big tech platforms. They're all linked together. They're all in bed together. They all do business together. And they essentially control the minds of people. That's what dictators do, if you haven't noticed. Dictators control what you think, say, and do. That's exactly what they have done. Make no mistake about it. The big tech industry was the biggest influencer in this last presidential election. They were deplatforming Republicans left and right. In fact, they deplatformed a sitting president, and they deplatformed a regular U.S. citizen. I'm talking about myself. I woke up one morning. I had previously had 319,000 to be exact.
By the way,
subscribers.
that's the reason I'm here, because you're popular.
Well, I was popular until 319,000 people unsubscribed in one night, which is seemingly mathematically impossible. I was deplatformed. I was censored. Now, what's going on is they did this. The radical left did a big favor for us. So I think his name is Chuck Newsom. He's one of those big tech Silicon Valley tech tyrants, and he says, all the American people are concerned about this censorship issue, so we're going to do a study for them using our big tech blood money from Silicon Valley, and we're going to give it to New York University, arguably one of the most radically left academic institutions you'll find. And they very quickly, like in 5 seconds, concluded that there's no censorship going on, and if it ever has happened, it's just been an algorithmic mistake. Well, you and I both know that if you're a conservative and you've ever touched social media and said anything conservative, you've been censored. We were completely deplatformed off of Facebook, Instagram, and a whole bunch of different platforms in one fell swoop. Our website was taken down. We went from 319,000 subscribers on YouTube down to 47 in one night. What they didn't count on is that we took recordings of our audience. And we're able to show you, if you go to realrepublicannews.com, you can see the comparison. This happened in one night, ladies and gentlemen. They want you to believe that 319,000 people unsubscribed. It didn't happen. What they said was, these guys are telling the truth. They don't want the truth told. They want their truth told, which is, their truth is, by the way, a big lie. They're not liberals. They're not Democrat. They don't represent any political party, in my opinion. They represent themselves in their pocketbooks, and they want one narrative followed. And if you step out of line, you're going to be punished. They're going to come after you. They're going to make a list out of you, and you will suffer the consequences. So when I woke up on a Monday morning, the same Monday morning that Parler woke up to find that their $500 million platform that represented the free speech of tens of millions of Americans was just taken down on a whim by Amazon. Same thing happened to us on a smaller scale, but it happened. They censored politicians, they censored a U.S. president, and now they're censoring the American people. And a scary thing's going on now. We got back onto Facebook, we created a new profile, and they shut that one down to the second we joined this group that said impeach Biden now. Now, I did a little bit of research because I never want to say anything that's not true. So I joined this group and I started checking out the profiles of the administrators of this group. They were all very new profiles, and all the profiles were some busty, good-looking women, and they say, vote for Trump, impeach Biden on him, or something like that. And then you join the group, you say something conservative, and whack. Your profile goes away, it disappears because you said something conservative. And then they send you a message that they're there to protect free speech and groups that, I quote, this is a quote from Facebook, they want to protect groups that might otherwise be marginalized because they value free speech. Unless you're a conservative, that is. So they said, click here if you think this is a mistake, which it clearly had to have been if we're following the United States Constitution and respecting free speech. And then they said, if you want to get back on, supply us with a picture of your photo ID. Now, I can only think of one reason that they would want to do that. It's to create a list and identify us. Now, me as an American patriot, I don't stand for the elimination of free speech, whether you are gay, straight, lesbian, red, black, brown, white, pink. I don't care who you are. If you're an American citizen and you're saying things that won't get people hurt, you have the right to say that, a God-given right, a constitutional right as an American citizen to say those things. What do you think about that?
You're right on, Jason. You know, the thing that I always think about is what is the repercussions of all this? And my hope and prayer is there are a lot of people like myself that are involved politically but are not on Facebook and not on Twitter. I'm not. I do a little bit on Facebook. But the bottom line is they have their own beliefs and they have their own group of people that they deal with and they have their own way of getting their message out. My hope and prayer is that everybody sees this as, unfortunately, a forced opportunity to figure out how you're going to communicate, how you're going to build a following. Me as a state representative, or you as someone of influence. How are we going to build a new network? How are we going to build a pyramid of people that are communicating? You know, that I can start off having 10 people that are supporting what I'm doing. In 3 months from now, be 100 people. Well, how are we going to do that? And I think we have to.
Well, I'll tell you this. I said this from day one, that they can eliminate me. They can kick me off of the internet, and the day that comes to pass where they do that, which is very well possible at this point, I'm going to just build my own internet. Now, that's a crazy statement to make. I've done crazier things in my life, in case you were wondering, and I've been told that I couldn't. But I will. Because I will never stop until every single American out there has the unfettered right to free speech, because those are God-given rights that our founding fathers created for us. Now, here's a reason why Mr. Roth is not a politician. Politicians say, elect me and I'm going to give you a bar of gold. Now, this is an exaggeration, of course, but they lie to you. They promise you the world so you vote them into power, and then when they get there, they do nothing. You don't get that bar of gold. You get a bunch of lies. We're sick of that as the American people, and it's tearing apart the fiber of this nation, so we're here to stop it. And I've said this before, and again, I don't care what the ramifications are, but Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Jack Dorsey, and all of your cronies in Silicon Valley, I'm not going to stop until I see the day come to pass where you're stripped of your ability to take any constitutional rights away from any Americans, as long as they're saying things that aren't going to get people hurt. That's what this country is about.
You know what's really ironic, and like I say many times, I look at the timing of events and how they unfold. Do you realize we may be having a new governor of California and New York at the same time? It's actually possible.
Well, and you know what? That brings me to another great point. The people of California are setting a really good example for the rest of the United States. They've recognized through the First Amendment okay, that they have the right to do things like petition for the recall of this moronic governor of California that's just destroying a once beautiful state. People are running from California and New York, and they're running to places like Florida, run by the great Governor Ron DeSantis, because Governor DeSantis cares about his people. He's already said that he's not going to put up with us being censored. He's not going to shut down this state because the Biden administration tells him to. Our numbers with this COVID thing are just fine. This state, people are moving to it, not because we have a higher death rate. They're moving to Florida because we're free. Imagine having to move to a state because they're free in America. That's not what America's about. And it's largely, in fact, mostly, in part due to the censorship and the war that social media tech tyrants have waged on the American people. I'll say this is a very important message that I want everybody to understand. I will fight for the rights of a liberal or a Democrat that disagree with me just as hard as I'll fight for our rights as Republicans, real Republicans and conservatives, to speak freely, because that's what America's about. It's about sticking up for one another. It's about recognizing that we can agree to disagree, but when all is said and done, above all else, we're Americans and we need to remain free, and we need to take steps to ensure that we continue to remain free and that our children and generations to come remain free. That's why I have people like real Republican Representative Rick Roth sitting here next to me, because he's not going to put up with it either. Governor DeSantis is not going to put up with it. There's a lot of politicians that are very, very bad, and they're unfortunately outnumbered by the good ones, okay? The good leaders of this country. There's politicians, and then there's representatives like Rick who don't owe favors, and they don't do tit-for-tat trades. They want to protect you. They want to protect their constituents. So we are aligning ourselves with people like Rick who simply want to see you be okay. Imagine that being a necessity in a free country. It's a scary thought.
Imagine that being a necessity for your government to do no harm.
To do no harm. And then, by the way, as the great Ronald Reagan said, and we've said this before, he said, the scariest thing an American citizen could ever hear is, I'm here from the government and I'm here to help. Well, I got to tell you, we're here from the American people and we're here to help. How about that one? That's not a scary thought. We're guys, okay? We've got men, we've got women, we've got some good politicians, we've got great representatives like Rick that are here to help.
Thank you for not calling me a politician. Appreciate that.
You know, it gets a little dicey there sometimes because, again, there's
so
many bad ones out there.
I actually use my conscience and my heart to make decisions.
Imagine that being the case in Washington. Someone using their conscience. So we are waging war on big tech. We are waging war on constitutional infringement. We will not stop until we see the Constitution and the constitutional rights of every American citizen restored in full. And I got to tell you, it's starting here in Florida. Florida is the new leader of the United States. Get that through your heads.
Amen.
Florida is the last remaining free state. That's why we say that Cuomo and Newsom, these two...
No, we're not the last. We're the leading free state.
The leading free state.
I mean, you talk about the top 4 states in population. They're California, then Texas, then Florida, and then New York. And Florida is the place to be.
Florida's the place to be, and it's because of oppression. We're not going to put up with it. We're going to make sure that Florida remains free, and by default, the rest of the country will fall in line. We're making them look bad. That's why they hate Florida so much. And when I say they, I mean the politicians. We're making them look bad. We're breaking the mold here in Florida. We will continue to do so. And like I've told you from the beginning, I fear not the consequences because I stand behind my beliefs that every American out there has the God-given right to say, think, and do as they please as long as no one's getting hurt. Our founding fathers were prophetic. That's why they wrote antitrust laws into the Constitution. That's why they said there shall be no monopoly so big and powerful that they have the ability to take the constitutional rights from any American citizen. That's a sick thing, and we're not going to let it happen, and I won't stop, and neither will Rick. We're not going to rest until there's change that takes place and your rights are restored. That commitment is not going away. Our resolve will not weaken. In fact, every time I'm deplatformed, you're actually making your situation worse. You know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to the big tech tyrants. Every time you do that to an American citizen, it strengthens our resolve in combating exactly what it is that you're doing. This country will never be, as Donald Trump said, a socialist country. You will never tell us what to think, say, or do, because we are Americans, we are patriots, and we are better than that, quite frankly. This is the land of the free, home of the brave. So with that, I say, stay tuned till next time, because they can kick me off of the internet, and I'll have to build my own, and I'll build it for you, the American people, so you have a place to have your voice heard. Unfortunately, online is the new public square, and the new public square needs to be completely free. So, we have Rick Roth, real Republican Rick Roth. All right? We're not going anywhere, everyone. We're going to stay here. We're here for you. We're here for America, and we're here to support and protect and defend the Constitution at all costs. Until next time, we say God bless you, your families, the Constitution of the United States, and give us the strength to carry on in this mission to restore constitutional adherence. Be well, everyone.